Hello and welcome back to another video here on my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. In today's video, I am going to share a few things that gave me culture shock when I moved from South Africa to the UK, and hopefully this list will show you how living in the UK differs from living in South Africa. Before we get into the list, if you're new here, hi, my name is Sim and I am a South African that moved to the UK, and currently I am living in Edinburgh in Scotland. So basically everything on this list is based on my personal experience and the last few months that I've had here in the UK. The first culture shock I had here in the UK is the amount of people that drink on the street. To this day, I'm still not sure if it is actually legal to drink on the street here, or is it a grey area? I'm not sure. But in the afternoon on a Friday or over a weekend, you will definitely notice a lot of people walking around with a drink in their hand. They most likely just got this from Tesco's or Sainsbury's or an off-license shop at the corner. But in South Africa, this is definitely not a common thing to see. I've mentioned previously that South Africa isn't really a country where everyone is walking around, because shops aren't on the street like they are located here in the UK. And in general, things aren't as close to each other in South Africa as they are here in the UK. So you just won't really be walking around. You would rather just drive to the liquor store and get what you need. I quite like being able to have a drink en route to the park or to the next bar or pub. So this is definitely a thing about the UK that I enjoy, and I also really love being able to walk everywhere. I'm also always surprised to see so many people out and about when it's raining outside. As I just mentioned, here in the UK you walk around a lot more, and people don't really let the rain stop them from doing that. Back in South Africa, I would definitely not be going out and walking around if it's raining, but here in the UK, people are still walking around, still exercising in the rain. And I guess at the end of the day, it does rain quite often here, so if you're going to let the rain deter you from doing things, you probably won't be able to do a lot. So I think it's one of those things that you just have to accept and get used to. People that have lived here in the UK for all their lives are obviously way more climatized to the weather and the temperature, but sometimes I just can't believe how little clothes some people are wearing when it's definitely still cold outside. I understand that I still need to get used to the weather, but if I'm wearing boots, a scarf, a jacket with a few layers underneath, I definitely don't see how other people can be fine with wearing sandals and a little summer dress. How can we feel the temperature so differently? Here in Scotland, I've even heard that if the temperature is like around 18 to 20 degrees, people will just start taking off their shirts. Now, 20 degrees, that's not taking off your shirt type of weather for me. I'll probably still be wearing jeans and a cardigan when it's 20 degrees. I used to think that bicycles were only a really popular form of transport in Europe for some reason. I'm not sure why I thought that. But here in the UK, bicycles are also super popular. Back in South Africa, cycling is more of a sport. There are of course people that also use bicycles to get around, but definitely not even close to the amount of people that use it here in the UK. I think this pairs up with what I mentioned earlier about things being a lot closer here in the UK. So in South Africa, if you were cycling around, it will take you quite long to get around. Where here in the UK, I think you can get around pretty quickly with your bicycle. Every city that I've been to here in the UK will also always have cycling lanes. Even though walking and cycling is popular, it's also not uncommon to have a car. There are a lot of people driving around as well, but the roads here are so narrow. On top of that, people are also using the street to park. So you have a narrow road, and then there still needs to be space for two cars to drive and a car to park on the side. This is one of the reasons I'm not too keen to drive around too much here in the UK, but I guess it's also one of those things that you just get used to, and you just need to be aware that when you get to a really tight spot, just make sure that people aren't actually coming from the other way to just wait on the side until you have a gap to actually go through. In South Africa, people love 4x4s, and I can't imagine some of those trucks being able to fit through these narrow roads or even fitting in some of the parking spaces. Luckily, we have a super tiny car, and honestly, for the UK roads, I think going smaller is better. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I've been in the UK for over a year now, and I have never ever seen a roadblock. In South Africa, I would see a roadblock probably every single week. I was driving a lot on the highway, so it definitely was not uncommon to see a roadblock on a off-ramp somewhere, or in some instances the roadblock wouldn't even be on the highway, it would just be on a main road, and this was quite common in Joburg. There are speed cameras here in the UK, and I have seen police just parked next to roads, but I've never actually seen an instance of someone being pulled over or a roadblock where you have to drive through where each person is being checked. I thought this was a normal thing that was being done everywhere in the world to make sure that everyone had valid driver's licenses, but I've now realized that it is actually not a common thing. I do think in South Africa that there is an ulterior motive for there being so many roadblocks. Here in the UK, I haven't gone through a roadblock, and I haven't actually had anything to do with any police here, which I think is a good thing. One thing that I love about living here in the UK is all the old buildings and architecture. South Africa's architecture doesn't really excite me. I'm sure there's some type of history and design there, but here in the UK, it honestly feels like you are walking on a movie set. There is also the modern side with new buildings, but at the same time, there are a lot of areas with historic buildings, cathedrals, and monuments. And there are so many places that claim that they are like the oldest pub or they're the oldest coffee shop. So it's very entertaining to see everyone's claims, and also interesting to see how long some of these places have actually been here. People in the UK are so comfortable with posting things and using the mail service. It's really interesting to me that people are still actually posting letters and parcels to each other. I haven't posted too many things, but every time I've had to do it, I'm always so skeptical, and I've definitely been traumatized by the bad postal service in South Africa. Once the letter or the parcel goes through the red letterbox, I just feel like it's game over. It's never going to get to the place that it needs to. And that's because it's really common for things to go missing in the South African Postal Service. There are also couriers in South Africa, so it's not a completely foreign concept to me. But when you use the post, you have to get stamps and you have to choose the delivery option. I have no idea what the stamp rules are, how they work. Every time I've actually had to post something, I just went to the postal office, and the person behind the counter was super helpful, and they basically just did everything for me. So I still definitely need to get used to how to actually post something. Pub culture is massive in the UK. We don't really have pubs in South Africa. We have bars, cafes, clubs, but not really any pubs. Because the pubs usually also have an old vibe to it, I also really enjoy going to a pub, and it also feels very cozy inside. The atmosphere is really nice and lively. Some pubs will have a nice fireplace going, and then all the food is usually comfort food, which just goes with the whole cozy vibe. I think pubs are so popular here because people in the UK like to drink, and also because the houses are smaller and you don't necessarily have a garden where you can entertain people. So I think it's a lot easier for people to just rather meet in the pub and have a catch up there rather than having to host people at your house. Obviously in South Africa people also go out a lot, but I definitely think it's more common to invite people over to your house, especially for a bride. That is a very popular thing to do over a weekend. And in South Africa the houses usually have more space and there's probably a garden, so it's just a lot easier to host more people. The last thing on my list of culture shocks here in the UK is daylight savings. We don't change our clocks in South Africa, so obviously it was a surprise to me that I needed to change my time twice a year. At the end of March, the clocks here in the UK move forward by 1 hour, and then at the end of October, it goes back again 1 hour. It can be slightly confusing, but all your electronic devices change the time automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. You only have to remember to do it if you have a watch, and of course you have to remember that you are starting work an hour earlier or later the next day. Because it's just an hour, I wouldn't say it messes up your sleeping pattern too much, but it is a bit strange like the first 2 or 3 days. I prefer it from March when we move an hour ahead and when we are in British summertime, because then we are only 1 hour behind South Africa, whereas from October we are 2 hours behind South Africa. So when we're 2 hours behind, it can sometimes be a bit tricky if you want to catch up with someone in the week, especially after work, because then it's already quite late for people in South Africa, where if it's just an hour difference, it tends to be okay. Those are all 10 culture shocks that I had on my list for you today. I think there are still so many, but I don't want the video to be too long. So if you want a part 2 to hear even more culture shocks, let me know, because I definitely have enough to make another video. It's obviously something you expect when you move to a different country, and personally I love experiencing new cultures, so I've definitely enjoyed getting used to the way of living here and experiencing that. I hope you've enjoyed my list of culture shocks, and if you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up down below. And if you want to see more of my videos of my experience as a South African here in the UK, also remember to subscribe for new videos every week. Thank you so much for watching, and then I'll see you guys in my next video.